Hello, this is T.A. McLaughlin, or Teresa McLaughlin. I'm the author of the Love of the Tayamni science fiction fantasy series, and I'm bringing you the second episode of Tayamni Transmissions. Let's see, this is a show, I'm sorry, I still have to read this stuff. This is a show where I talk about the series, the characters, their motivations, and the philosophy behind the stories. I began writing the series in 2015, at around the time my husband and I were married. We were talking about retirement. I told him I wanted to write after retirement, and he said, "Why wait? Why not start now?" So I did. Before the Tayamni became the Tayamni, they were another species. They were cyborg. They had, over time, replaced so many of their organic body parts, their organs, their hormones, their blood, even parts of their brain, that they had actually become cyborgs. They had not made a decision to become cyborgs. They didn't even realize it had happened. It happened so gradually. They had pursued profit above everything. Greed had become their god. In the pursuit of profit, they destroyed their home world, Musara. They destroyed themselves. It was at the point of extinction that they were saved. As the book says, and I'm referring to the first book, The Love of the Tayamni, once renowned for erudition and artistry, they had set themselves on a path of self-destruction, becoming dreary, programmed creatures, more machine than animal. Their home world, the watery moon where they had evolved, was abandoned, a neglected orb circling a red giant. The oceans were dead, the atmosphere poisoned, glaciers melted. The faint organic life remaining migrated to polar regions to escape blasts of heat and radiation. Only in the final death throes of her race did she see how sterile, what self-serving creatures they had become. And here I'm referring to a person that was found, one of the last of the of the race that became the Tayamni, where she was found, and they assumed that she was the last one alive. They refer to her as the Berenib, which in their language meant queen. Berenib didn't remember who she had been, where she had lived, or how long she had been alive. She only remembered being here, on this lifeless rock, in a system her people conquered millennia ago. She didn't recall that she still lived in a palace, that she was rich beyond measure. She could have stood and walked to the window to view rocky valleys far below. In the distance, cool gases rose from the surface. Violet crystals glittered in diffuse starlight. To look upon such a scene with wonder would have required curiosity, the ability to feel awe. But she, along with the rest of her species, had become crippled by cynicism. Unknown to her, she had become the last of her race. It was finished. So, how did this dying race of cyborgs become the Tayamni? The Tayamni seem to be diametrically opposed to the race they derived from. The Tayamni are generous. They don't use money. Their moral code prevents them from intentionally harming living creatures. They are spiritual, philosophical. Their moral code tells them to love each other. In fact, they must love all living creatures. Love is in the name of the series, The Love of the Tayamni. Love is their driving mission. To the Tayamni, love is the strongest force in the universe. It was because of the 9, the 9 technological races of Ayam. That's why and how they were saved. Who were the 9? They were aliens from another dimension. I say were, because we don't know what happened to them. Did they make it back to their own dimension? Did they make it back to Ayam? As the first book says, the legend of the 9 goes back a long, long time, maybe as long as 1,000,000 years ago. The 9 had become legend, an old story. Who knows how accurate the stories are? But the Tayamni still have the stories, the legends in their culture. Long, long ago at Ayam, in the other dimension, is where their story begins. Now, we don't know whether Ayam is the name of their system or the name of their dimension. We only know that that's where they're from. Now, at the present day, the Tayamni simply assume Ayam is the name of their home system or their galaxy. We know that long ago, 9 different species came together to form an alliance of a sort. It was not a military alliance. It was rather a cultural alliance, a spiritual alliance, a scientific alliance. Their alliance sent voyagers throughout their home galaxy to meet other species, to investigate new worlds, and to perform scientific research. It was on one of those scientific voyages that the 9 discovered a burnt-out star that contained a never-before-seen type of crystal. The odd thing about this crystal is that it vibrated, and when it vibrated, it affected dimensions. They called this crystal Kurunite. Scientists from this alliance of the 9 found they could use Kurunite to view other dimensions. Over time, they found they could use it to travel to other dimensions and to travel through time. So they made a plan. They would take a member of each of the 9 races as children. They would raise them together as brothers and sisters. They would become a family. They would be trained for one mission. Their whole lives would be dedicated to the mission, to cross into another dimension. Their whole lives would be dedicated to the crossing. But what would they do once they had crossed? They would observe, they would record, gather data, and then return to Ayam. At least that was the plan. But because of unforeseen circumstances, they were not able to return to Ayam. At least not in the stories and the legends. They performed research. They made recordings. They began learning as much as they could. They wanted to find a way to return. Then they could present their findings. Different phases of the journeys of the 9. What happened to them once they were in our dimension? The reasons they could not return, the effect of their presence in this dimension, the prophecies that derived from their spiritual activities, all of this is discussed. Bits of the stories, pieces of the legends are revealed in each of the books. The first worlds, excuse me, I'll get some water. The first worlds they discovered in this dimension were worlds where all intelligent life had died or were on the brink of extinction. They found the Tayamni, or the people who would become the Tayamni, in such a condition. Since the remaining Tayamni were not genetically viable, meaning there weren't enough of them to survive, they didn't have enough genetic diversity to multiply and become a successful race. So, since they weren't genetically viable, the 9 spliced their own DNA with the species that was dying, thereby creating a new species. They called the new species Tayamni, the Tayamni meaning animal. As the first book says, one of the nine spoke. In this instance, this person is speaking to the Berenib, the person they called the queen, who was the survivor that they found. One of the nine spoke. You have been transformed. This is your ka, she said, your essence. You can exist, but you cannot feel the power. You are a lattice of radiated photons, but we will give you flesh. Then Berenib awakened again. One moment she had floated beside the one called Hador, or Hador, the life-giver, and the next moment she opened her eyes, breathing sweet oxygen. Her lungs filled, her breast heaved. Fresh air, like electric currents, slid along her naked body. Her heart fluttered. The wetet opened. The lid of the sarcophagus slid away, and she saw, standing above her, the one called Hador, smiling. You are in your ba, your essence. Your ka is housed as it should be, in your body once more. We have given you the same bodies as us. Your DNA is spliced with ours. You can understand our thoughts, hear unspoken words, feel what is in our hearts. You can sense the power, the greatest power that exists, the only power that can save your people, the power of love. It was in this manner that she was born, or rather reborn. From an ancient, withering race of cyborg creatures, she was given new life. Her people, the few that remained, were given physical bodies. The nine, the Aeneid, the first ones, coming from a universe away, had come here. They had come to her. They came to save her people. In subsequent generations, Berenib's people would do the same, bring back creatures on the brink of annihilation, connected to the power. They would search out species to save. The nine gave them a new name, Tayamni, meaning animal. They were living, breathing, loving, organic creatures once again. So the Tayamni were fully flesh. They were no longer cyborgs. They were fully animal, like you and me. The nine gave them new bodies, a repaired home world, and a new sense of morality. They gave them a moral code, a code of living morally, a code that puts love for all living creatures at the core of their culture. Also, looks like we have a few more minutes. I will tell you a little bit more about myself. As you know, from the last Tayamni transmissions, I told you I was born in 1957 in Tupelo, Mississippi. The earliest memories I have are of being hit by my father, abused by my father. He hated me from birth for unknown reasons, and accused my mother of having an affair and that I was not his child. So that was the excuse. I'm not sure how much truth was in it because he was totally cuckoo. But anyway, so I was abused quite a bit as a child. And it took a long time, a lot of therapy, a lot of spiritual searching to get to a point where, it doesn't hurt as much as it did. And it doesn't hurt as frequently as it did. So I've come a long way. And I pushed myself, I guess a symptom of people sometimes who are told over and over again that they will never amount to anything, that they will never have a career, that sort of thing, because they weren't intelligent enough. So I pushed myself. I um, I found a way that I could go to college, and I received a bachelor of science in math, computer science, and from this small, previously all girls Catholic college, Fontbonne. And then I was a computer programmer at McDonnell Douglas. Wrote some programs for some of their jets, the F-15, and then I think, or the F-16, I forget. And then I decided I hated it. I just hated working there. And so I moved to New York City and had a singing career. I'd been singing all my life, taking voice lessons in high school and during college. And I was in the St. Louis Symphony Chorus. And the director at the time, Tom Peck, told me, "You're not a tenor, you're an alto." So he moved me into the alto section. Of course, I was thrilled to be sitting with all those women, identifying secretly as a woman. And so I began to sing countertenor, and I found that I had a good voice. And so I decided to move to New York and be a countertenor, have a career. And I did. I mean, most singers, unless you're a star, most singers don't make that much money. And but I was young, and I didn't need that much health care, so I didn't worry about that. And so I toured. We toured in Europe several times. We were in Hong Kong for a couple of weeks, and we toured a lot in the U.S. as well. And so, as you'll see, many of these stories, many of the things I experienced, are in the books. And let's see. Then later on, I moved. I had a terrible experience in New York City with my partner leaving me because I was HIV positive. And luckily, knock on wood, I have never been sick from it. I've always been able to get the medication that I need, and I've always been healthy. I've never been sick from it, and hopefully I won't be sick from it any in the future. So anyway, I found that I couldn't work on classical music anymore. When my partner left me, I had basically a breakdown, an emotional breakdown. So I decided, okay, well, what am I going to do if I can't work on this music anymore? I'm in New York, and I remembered, ironically enough, it was that partner who told me once when I was joking around singing country music because I knew the style so well. He said, you should sing country music. You do a great job. So I was in a laundromat one day having a breakdown, and, washing my clothes, having a nervous breakdown, trying to think of a way to repair myself or to heal in some way. And I remembered listening to an interview with Tammy Wynette, back when I still lived in Mississippi. And in that interview, she said when she got really depressed or sad, she just wrote a song. She wrote a song about it, and it really helped her feel better. So I thought, I wonder if I can write a song. And sitting there in the laundromat that day, I wrote my first song. It was easy. I was shocked that it was so easy. And it made me feel so much better. Oh my God. It was a song about the partner that, who left me. Well, it was very complicated. I accused him of leaving me when it was probably more of me leaving him leaving me, fighting a lot, and, and being HIV positive started the whole thing. But anyway, I decided to form. I was still still male at the time, still a man. So I decided to form a country western band, a gay country western band. So I did. I put an ad in the Village Voice and advertised for band members, to form a gay and lesbian country band that would be called Doug Stevens. That was my name. Doug Stevens and the Out Band. So I did. We had quite a career. I made 4 recordings. We got tons and tons of press in Billboard and in there was a Talk of the Town New Yorker about a New Yorker article about me called Country Person, and just tons and tons of press all over the country. I performed in Europe again, as Doug Stevens with the Out Band. We were in the Europe Gay Pride Festival in 2002, I believe it was, at Cologne in Köln, Germany, and we danced country dancing all the way around the route and ended up at the cathedral, the famous cathedral at Köln. We were dancing in front of it, and we thought that was a great symbol, gay people dancing in front of the Cologne, the Catholic cathedral at Cologne. So let's see, and then I had decided that being a singer was a lot of fun. Being a professional singer was lots of fun, and I got to travel a lot, but I didn't have health insurance. I was getting older, and I didn't make much money. So I went back into programming in San Francisco with Pacific Gas and Electric Company, and I worked there for a while and then decided to go into cybersecurity, where I've been working now for since 2007. I got a master's degree in information assurance and from Norwich University, which is the oldest military academy in the country, and I've been working in cybersecurity since then, and it's really fun. I love it, but I love writing more. Writing is so satisfying and healing. So that is my love, my great joy. Okay, my darlings. Hopefully at some point I will begin to be more comfortable and natural on the screen. I realize I'm a little bit formal and stilted right now. Sorry about that. But next week, we will have our 3rd episode of Tayamni Transmissions. Until then, I will see you later. Bye-bye.